Fowler, national champion quarterback, dual threat analyst. Blaine, welcome to the new digs.
Look at this place. This is awesome. You guys have moved into the big time. I'm loving it.
Upgrade, and you're going to use it too.
Yeah.
We're all going to be in here now.
Yep, we're going to use it for after further review and countdown and all those things when the team's on the road. So it's amazing. Like, I don't know if you gave everybody a tour. At some point we should do that, right? But it is amazing. This is going to be so good.
Multifaceted studio, multifaceted conversation we're about to have regarding BYU and Oregon. So, you know, I would like to start with the physicality factor. We've been talking about this, and we just pointed out that you think, okay, Oregon is going to host BYU, and we know Baylor's physical, Big 12, just those huge offensive and defensive lines, but we all kind of associate Oregon with speed and quickness and not necessarily physicality and toughness, but you maybe feel differently. Why is that?
Well, first of all, maybe the best group they have coming back is on the offensive line. Similar to Baylor, where they had 4 or 5 starters coming back. So they feel really good about the talent level that they have at that position. They feel like they have some big physical guys. Dan Lanning brings a different mentality from Georgia than we've seen at Oregon in the past. In the past, Oregon has been a spread RPO run pass option team where their entire focus is just getting the ball to perimeter, get it to guys in space that have speed, have them make people miss, and they really didn't do much of downhill running. And I know that that's what he wants them to look more like Georgia over time. He has the line that's there that can do that. They've got to find a feature running back. Nobody could run the ball against Georgia 2 weeks ago, and then everybody could run the ball last week against Eastern Washington, so it's really hard to tell what they want to do. But I think that he wants to build this program from the ground up where, no, we're going to be physical with you. We're going to smack you around at the line of scrimmage, and he looks – Oregon had a big edge in that league for a long time where there's so much speed that nobody could match up. And then Stanford came and during a period of time said – we're never going to match up with them with speed, so we're just going to beat the crap out of them. We're going to run it at them, and we're going to beat the crap out of them. And they handled Oregon. And then Utah kind of took Stanford's place and said, that's the model we're going to use. We're going to beat the crap out of Oregon. And last year, Utah manhandled Oregon in the 2 games that they played them. And so I think Dan Lanning comes in and says, okay, now we have to adjust. We've got to be more physical. We've got some guys we just need to play with a different mentality. We've got the guys coming back up front. So I expect Oregon to flex their muscles a little bit. They still have the talent that's left over from Cristobal and the old regime, so we're still going to see a lot of screen game out to the perimeter, and BYU's going to play that really well. But I think we're going to see more of a commitment to run, and I think on both sides of the ball, on the offense and defense, they want to look more like Georgia. The difference between when Kalani took over at BYU and Dan taking over at Oregon is Oregon's got way more talent than Kalani had when he took over, and Kalani's had to build the talent. Oregon's got guys that can play, and they're going to be real physical up front. There's maybe a different type of talent that he wants to recruit over time, but they should be able to compete right away. And I think this is going to be more physical than speed that people expect. They expect you to go to Oregon. They've got all these flashy wide receivers and great speed at running back. I get more nervous about that physical matchup inside. BYU fared really well against Baylor. It's the toe-to-toe. They're going to have to do it again this week against Oregon.
And you speak from experience, not just as an analyst. You have a son-in-law, Dallas Lloyd, who played for Stanford. So you saw this in person. So those insights are from physically watching that and talking to Dallas, which is great. BYU, power team that has speed. Oregon feels like a speed team that we associate Oregon with speed. We also associate style and fashion with speed and Nike, I think, which is interesting. So this matchup's going to be fun. What did you learn from the BYU-Baylor game that you think BYU can translate into the Oregon game?
Yeah, BYU played a fair amount of just straight man defense in that game, which freed up their backers to flow and get to the football. And when you hold a Baylor football team to under 3 yards a carry, that's a heroic accomplishment, because that is one of the most physical fronts on the offensive side in college football, period. Like on par with Bama and Ohio State, and BYU fared really, really well. And I think we got to give some credit to the back end where they could trust those guys that they could cover, and then you could free those other guys up to say, hey, go play the run and be aggressive and get in those gaps. And BYU's linebacking core was phenomenal in that game.
They didn't give up a 20-yard pass play.
Yeah, and
how about that?
It's not just speed in the secondary; it's speed and depth. Because, when Baylor did have a few longer drives, BYU rotated guys in at the corners. It's safety. And so you've got to be good there, but you also have to be deep there to match up with these teams that are rolling receivers in. And we associate Oregon with speed, but Oregon doesn't have more speed than Baylor on the perimeter. 11, the slot for Baylor, is faster than anybody on BYU's team or Oregon's team. The fastest guy in the field last week. Did you notice him blowing by people and making big plays? Baylor has this great combination of just physical, nasty dudes on both sides of the ball up front and great speed in the perimeter in their secondary, and we saw that from their secondary. And they have receivers that can really run, just like Oregon's receivers. And so I thought BYU showed us that they can match up with speed on the outside, and they can be really physical on the inside. They're going to have to duplicate that again. I feel like Oregon's more similar to Baylor than people think. Stylistically, just because they're in this transition period, Baylor likes to run zone stretch and run it at you a lot more. They want to establish the run. They ran 80 plays in that game.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Oregon's going to be more up-tempo, and we'll see early in the game a bunch of just quick throw it out to a wide receiver, throw it out. They are using their tight end more this year than tight ends more. They're playing more 11 and 12 personnel, meaning one back and a tight end or one back and two tight ends than we've seen in the past already just in 2 games. But they're still using those tight ends to put them in the slot and throw them a quick screen. If BYU can just shut those things down and be aggressive, then it makes Bo Nix be a drop-back passer, and that's what BYU wants. They want to just play drop-back pass game, be able to just come after the quarterback, smack the quarterback around. So early in the game, if BYU can get to the perimeter and go sideline to sideline, that's what Oregon does to you. It puts them in a really good position to force Oregon to do what BYU wants them to do to try to keep up.
Blaine, certainly BYU is going to encounter some scenarios on the road this time, because we've talked a ton about how much the crowd impacted BYU's ability to close out Baylor and just what an impact that atmosphere in that setting was, certainly energizing the players late in the game and into double overtime. BYU's not going to have that luxury in Eugene. So when the adversity strikes and when the Ducks fans are loud and it's crazy at Autzen Stadium, it's a great college football venue, why is this BYU team mentally ready for something like that, maybe compared to years past where they might not have been?
You nailed it. Autzen's a really tough place to play. Just like BYU's a tough place to play. That crowd gets on you. They're close to you. When you're now on offense, the noise is going to be there. When you're on defense, it'll be quiet. Just the opposite of what they just had. But the thing that makes the difference is BYU's a really veteran team. And especially at the quarterback position. But really, go around. They're experienced at every position. Kalani's not where he was 4 years ago, where he's got a bunch of freshmen playing at key positions. These are all guys that have been around, have played in crazy environments, and understand how you keep your composure. And the most important position on the field in any sport is quarterback in football. Jaron Hall just doesn't. Nothing phases him. Just doesn't. It doesn't matter what the situation is. He just always has this confident calm about him, and the rest of the team feeds off of that. And so I think that he's the difference maker in this, and he can be the guy that keeps them calm down. And they've got veteran guys up front too on the offensive line that they know, hey, listen, we have to hold hands, or if you have to watch the ball or whatever, we can do this. We don't have to be able to hear one another. Just stay calm. Let's just do our deal. And we watched Utah run the ball right at Oregon last year. If BYU can run right at them and keep the ball and have some drives where they just run it down their throats, that quiets the crowd down really fast.
Yeah.
If you're dominating up front and they can't stop you, and it's just like right down the field and score, and then you get a stop and it's right down the field and score, that neutralizes that tremendous home field advantage. And so it's really important for BYU to not just start well and get out in front, but start so physically well that the fans go, oh man, we're getting pushed around out there. That quiets down a home crowd really quick.
The right tackle for BYU will certainly be motivated in Kingsley Suamataia.
Yes.
Blake Freeland, they ran behind him for the touchdown in overtime with Lopini Katoa. Our question of the day, Blaine, is this. Does a special season hinge on BYU winning this game Saturday?
Well, to me, a special season would be anything that's double-digit wins with this type of a schedule.
Yes.
So they don't have to beat Oregon to have a special season. To me, I take it in its entirety. You get 10 wins with this schedule, you're going to be a top 15 team. You may even still be a New Year's Six team with 10 wins. But when we're talking about elite, that word that we don't use that often,
the E word,
where you start saying, hey, this is like the 96 team, or this is like the 84 team, or the 83 team, or the 80 team with Jim McMahon. To put them in that category, they want to be in that category, then this win's a must. Ooh. Because I think to be in that category, you got to go out and win 11 games and be ranked in the top 10.
Which they could still do if they lose, just your likelihood of actually doing that goes down, because we're staring at Arkansas playing great ball right now.
And that's, maybe I shouldn't say must win, but it gets you in. And I also think that you go win on the road at Oregon.
Oh, my goodness.
And
anything is possible.
And this team, I think they're immediately in the top 10.
Yes, you're a top 10 team.
Totally.
And everybody's talking about them.
Totally.
And then they have a chance in the next couple of weeks to really flex their muscles and get everybody healthy. Defensively, they're really healthy right now. As healthy as they've been. Like, they were healthy going into this last game. They're healthy. We saw Tyler Batty come out. I think he'll be okay.
Just Gabe Summers was a little banged up.
Got hit on the hip is what happened to him. He got bruising. Gabe Summers came back in. They were 100% healthy on defense. I can't remember even in openers the last time we said that. And they're 100% again this week, likely. And then on offense, they're getting closer. If Puka can play, that's really Puka and Gunner are the only ones out.
And BYU just beat a top 10 team without him, which is pretty crazy.
And let me tell you, BYU's got a great receiving core. But Puka and Gunner as a 1-2, they match up with anybody. And Puka on his own, Puka's a starting NFL wide receiver. Like, he's better than almost anybody. Like, he's as good as anybody in the Pac-12. And so
he used to play there, in fact.
That's a difference maker. Do you know what I mean?
No question.
Depth is great. BYU's good. Chase Roberts may end up being just a phenomenal star before it's all said and done.
See the second coming of Austin Collie, by the way?
Man, I love his big body and how he goes and tracks the ball, right?
Yeah.
BYU's got a lot of guys that can do that. Keanu Hill's a really, really good wide receiver. But Puka's a special kind of every once in a while guy. Puka's an Austin Collie. Puka's a Glenn Kozlowski. You know what I mean?
He won't have the stats to hang there because of a shortened time and injuries and whatnot.
If he's
but
back
like who he is
and can go 100%, he's a matchup nightmare. And it doesn't even matter if you put your best guy on him. It doesn't matter if your one guy's on his hip. He's catching it.
He's always open.
He's catching it.
You have to double team. You have to double team him.
He will just go take it from people.
And then BYU can exploit some other
And he brings a confidence to that offense that's tangible. Like, you can when he's in the game, everybody's like, yeah.
Did BYU not establish the run not just because of the physical Baylor line, but because maybe the jet sweep didn't soften it up? Like, if Puka's healthy and in that game, does that open some lanes there, Blaine?
I think that helps. And Puka and Gunner are really good in the screen game, too. We forget that not only can they both stretch the field, and they can both run fly sweeps, especially Puka, but in the quick screen game, where the quarterback just takes a snap and boom, throws it out, Puka and Gunner are both really good in that game. So early in the game, when you have those two in there, you get people going sideline to sideline in the front. This is what Oregon's going to try to do to BYU. And then all of a sudden they throw a deep ball over the top, and and even if Gunner doesn't get it, you're like, man, that guy just ran by us. Puka goes up and takes one from somebody 35 yards down the field, or catches the ball and makes three guys miss and scores. And the defense starts to go, oh my goodness, we've got so many things to think about. They're on that sideline, they're on that sideline. They just went deep over the middle. Puka just beat us on a fade route. They start thinking about all that. All of a sudden you can run the ball. And people say, well, you establish the run to open up the pass.
When you
can establish the throw.
That's what you guys
did. You establish the
quick
quick throw game, and then you can run all you want on people, right? And so it also works in reverse. And when you've got Puka and Gunner, you can decide which is better. You test them. If you get 7 yards on your first couple of carries, well, then go ahead and establish the run first, and they start creeping up, and you got all that intermediate stuff in behind the linebackers. If they're being really stout against the run, you go, oh, okay. We're just going to stretch you guys out. We're going to go sideline to sideline and throw it over the top of you because we got the dudes to do it.
That was last week.
It's interesting to talk to BYU's coaches right now. That game against Baylor, that was two top 10 looking teams going toe-to-toe. Really good at every position, right? Which, that's fun, right? When you talk to BYU's coaches, you ask them, like, well, what about this team? Man, they got some dudes. They got this guy and that guy. We're talking to them about Baylor, talking to them about Oregon. But then they always finish with, well, we got some dudes too. Like, we got some dudes. And that always hasn't been the case when you talk to the coaches at BYU. We're going to have to do this. We're going to have to scheme that. And now BYU's coaches realize, yep, they got some dudes that are crazy skilled and talented and big and physical, and we got some dudes. We have some matchup nightmares just like they do now, and that's why BYU can go compete.
Blaine, let's finish with this. We just pointed out week 3, for whatever reason, in the history of BYU football has always been weird. It's the week that BYU has struggled the most. Now they got to go on the road. They are technically the underdog, but it's just Autzen Stadium creates such a tough atmosphere to have to go and play in. What's your advice to them? What's your advice to BYU football to not worry about week 3 and how to handle the momentum of beating Baylor? What would you say to them in the locker room?
I realize it's on the road, but wasn't week 3 last year at Arizona State?
It was at home.
Yeah,
yes.
But after Utah.
True.
There's not a more emotional
Utah.
game than Utah.
Yeah.
And I was worried BYU was going to come out, even though it was at home, and start flat. Because sometimes that happens after an emotional game. They didn't. They came out and just punched them in the face and hung in there. And
Literally punched the ball out.
Right. And so I think you look back and you go, hey, recent history is all that matters with this team. And we realize this one's on the road. Veteran players thrive on hostile environments. Young players get intimidated. Veteran players that have done it a few times, they walk in and they go, yes, here we go. I love these dudes yelling at me, because you can grab energy from either a really huge, enthusiastic crowd on your side. You can grab that energy, or you can grab energy from, here we go. Let's shut these people up. And veteran guys feed off of a hostile crowd on the other side. They love it. So to me, the worst thing in the world is to play in front of a crappy crowd on the road with nobody there.
Which you did a lot in the WAC.
Yes, we did. Because
hard to manufacture energy.
You can grab energy from people being all over you.
Yeah.
And veteran teams do that well. This is a veteran BYU team. I would say, listen to all that's going on, internalize it, and go, oh, we're shutting these people up. And then there's nothing better than that hostile crowd getting in the huddle at one point and just going, man, guys, it got really quiet. Let's cram it down their throats again, and let's completely shut them up.
It's so quiet I can whisper right now.
Yeah, I'm going to whisper to you guys in the huddle because we shut them up.
Yes.
And so that's the kind of mentality you have to have on the road. You have to relish that it's just a nasty, brutal environment, and your whole goal is shut this group up.
Embrace
and
the
if you can do that, if you can embrace it and say that hostility gives me energy, you can win on the road.
Blaine, great stuff.
That's us looking at Twitter.
Yeah, and we look forward to the bear hunt recap on After
Yes.
Further
Be fun.
Review
We
tonight.
have a fun show for everybody tonight.
Fantastic.
Speaking